Have you heard the word sphera, or the plural sefirot, talked about in classes on Jewish mysticism, but you don't really understand what they're talking about? Or maybe you've heard explanations about them, but you still can't really grasp what they are? Well, this episode is for you. I'm Chava Ashkenazi Bloom, and this is my podcast, Letters from God, the Alphabet of Creation, where we dive down to explore the spiritual infrastructure of the cosmos, and where we make very esoteric concepts tangible. And one more thing about the podcast: if you don't receive an episode each week, please check your spam or junk folders. It may have been sent there by mistake. Let's begin. So last episode we spoke about God, the divine artist, who used the colors of the Sefirot and the brushes of the alphabet to paint the cosmos into existence. This image is actually based on an idea from Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, a very old and mystical book attributed to the patriarch Avraham. In Sefer Yetzirah, we learn that the Sefirot, along with the letters, are the divine building blocks that constitute the scaffolding of our reality. And so, to talk about the letters, we really also need to understand something about the Sefirot. In Tehillim, the Psalms, it says that the world is built on chesed, loving kindness. Chesed is one of the Sefirot. This means that the essence and basis for our world is loving kindness. And that means that it is also a basic part of our makeup as human beings and as creations. This is true for every single one of the 10 Sefirot. They're all part of the world, they're all part of us. These Sefirot are 10 of the infinite qualities that God possesses, that he chose to use in fashioning our world. And everything that he created, all things, concepts, and processes have these 10 energies within them. To make this more clear, let's use the analogy of an architect and the creation of a building. First, he conceives a vision of what he wants to create. This is the first Sefirah of Keter, its vision, its will. This is God's will and vision for his creation. This is the vision of loving relationship that he chooses to create between himself and his creation. The architect then needs principles that will go into his building, like wood and stone, and this is how it's built, and that's how it's built. So for the divine architect, he needs principles as well, like the concepts of energy, matter, time, space, spirituality, angels, good and evil, etc., etc., etc. All of these principles constitute Chokhmah. But how does the architect use these elements to create the vision he has identified in Keter? That's Bina. Bina is how he combines and utilizes the truths of Chokhmah to actualize his vision. Just as the architect creates his architectural drawings and plans, so too Hashem used the principles of Chokhmah and the processes of Bina to create the final blueprint of creation. This is what Dat is. Dat could be called a quasi-sefira, because when you count Keter, in the count of 10 Sefirot, you don't count Da'at. And when you count Da'at, you guessed it, you don't count Keter. These two, Keter and Da'at, are basically two sides of the one coin. They are both about the vision. One is in the mind, one is actually as a blueprint. It's already in some sort of tangible reality. So the architect now moves on to actualizing his building. He's not in the planning stages. Now he's actually in the building stages. And just as he gathers all the physical materials he needs, so too Hashem, through the next 6 Sefirot, he will gather together his actual building blocks of creation. So the first one is chesed, loving kindness, unconditional, expansive love, love that expresses itself in kindness. Opposite chesed is gevura, which is might and strength. It's also the energy of limitation, of constriction, containment, and restraint. Tiferet is next. Tiferet is the energy that harmonizes the expansiveness of chesed with the limitations of gevura. It is beauty and truth and compassion. The next 2 Sefirot are Netzach and Hod, and they always go together. Netzach is the energy that initiates growth. It's about assertion and jumping into action. It's the energy to push ahead and overcome obstacles. Hod is about support and commitment. In the partnership that is Netzach and Hod, Hod gives whatever assistance is necessary to further Netzach's goal. The next Sefirah is Yesod. This is the energy of connection and relationship. These 6 lead us to the last Sefirah of Malchut, sovereignty and kingship. Malchut is like the actual building that the architect envisioned in the first place. The vision that is Keter grows in complexity down through all the Sefirot until it finally emerges whole and unified as the actual concrete expression of that vision. Malchut is the unification of all the previous Sefirot, and yet it's much greater than the sum of its parts. Malchut actualizes Keter's vision. So to get a more concrete understanding of how these energies function within you, you might want to think about your answers to the following questions. And if you want to pause the recording in between questions in order to give yourself more time to reflect on it, go right ahead. Keter, what has God put me here to do? What is my mission in life? Chochmah, what wisdom fills my mind? What knowledge do I have stored up? Bina, what can I do with the knowledge that I have, and how can I use it to achieve my goals? Da'at, have I really internalized my mission here? What's my plan to make it real? Does it align with my purpose? Chesed, what role does loving kindness play in my life? Gevura, what boundaries do I set around things that I value so that I can achieve my goals? Tiferet, how do I harmonize chesed and gevura in a way that is compassionate and beautiful? Netzach, what do I strive to accomplish? In which areas do I lead? Hod, what am I committed to? What do I support? And what am I thankful for? Yesod, how do I connect with others? How do I connect with God? And how do I connect with my own soul? Finally, Malchut, how do I utilize all my gifts? What new creations do I bring into the world through who I am as a person? And am I building myself into something much greater than the sum of my parts? You can use these questions as springboards for your own meditation and to get more clarity about yourself and the world that you are creating every day. So until next time, bye-bye.